the Russian space program, or basically the well, it's SL, it's SLF, or Brian, Brian actually, but Buran was close enough. But basically, in 1928 or 1918, about pretty much Kennedy walked in there and basically shot everyone at the Kazakhstan shuttle site, pretty much, with Papa and some other ones. In 19 in we actually had cloning by 1920, or cloning by 1850 or 1880 or something like that. Probably 1830, 1840, somewhere around there. We had cloning, so we definitely had cloning by 1920 was the first cloning experiment. So anyway, so Kennedy was a very bad person at first, like that. Like people would know him to be a very bad person, and then later on he would eventually try and pretend to be a good person. But well, it really wouldn't be him. It would actually be his clones. Like the first Kennedys were really that bad, and they did whatever they wanted. And then the later on Kennedys tried to pretend like they were okay. But basically, the Russian space program, which or the Kazakhstan space program, which came into being somewhere around 18 something and was basically shut down by 1918 or 1928, when they basically walked through, killed everyone, and then tortured everyone else. And then there was no one left there to be at the site. No one wanted to be there, and basically the site was dead. You know, you walk in, you kill everyone at a factory and kill everyone around there, and pretty much you get a dead site. And so they just locked the door and left. So that's when the Kazakhstan site actually died. Was basically 1918 or 1928 about. So anyway, and I believe that the ship was already designed by then and already built. I mean, we basically did a lot of stuff in 1800, and pretty much between 1917 and 1977, basically was just basically solid death, pretty much, in between there. A lot of bad things happened. So anyway, though, but yeah, you know, yeah, I mean, you'd have to look at the history and stuff like that, but basically, it's a lot older than most people think. Kennedy later on, they tried to pretend like Kennedy was this golden child that had done all these things, but he hadn't done anything. Like I said, you'll see him with some of his previous radio messages or TV messages saying about why should we go to space when we need to worry about the war in Pakistan. And there wasn't a war in Pakistan, but there was soon after a war in Kazakhstan, a very massive war, which also centered around my site, the space shuttle site. So anyway, there's that. And then, like I said, later on, he would do things about how we should go to space, blah, blah. Anyway, he was basically saying all these things, and basically they would just play stuff to the public as if it was happening or as if it was real. And it actually happened like years before, like 20, 30 years before. He was just using old movie clips and rearranging everything into a way to where it looked like he was a part of it, or they were a part of it. But it really actually already happened long, long before. Anyway, they were on drugs, so whatever. Yeah. So anyway, and basically, pretty much, it was a friggin' nightmare until his death in 1968, and even then, it was still a nightmare afterwards because of basically. Nixon was still alive, and he was still very much a very bad person, and basically a horrible person. And they would say Nixon did this, Nixon that. Nixon didn't do any of that. He killed a lot of people, along with a lot of other people, and basically, you know, they ran around literally doing whatever they wanted, and then they lied about it afterwards. So anyway, they had more money or more people that were scared of them or something, or just more people that didn't know what was going on or something. So anyway, so that's basically what happened. Basically, Kennedy didn't do any space stuff. In fact, he was trying to stop the space program, and realistically, he was trying to stop the space program because he was still charging or still embezzling so much money from the space program that you couldn't really have a space program. And he just figured by eliminating one project, he could keep the money from that project that had already been spent or was already there. You know, if you go and say you're going to put in a bridge, but then you say, oh, we don't need a bridge, we need a ferry. You can sometimes build a ferry for far cheaper than it would cost to build the bridge, and then they would just keep the difference. So anyway, So there was a lot of money for space and a lot of money in space, and I wanted to go to space, and I had the money, and I'd already paid out the money for certain things to be done. So anyway, so he was trying to shut that down. Like I said, they were trying to stop computers, they're trying to stop technology, they're trying to isolate Earth and keep Earth from getting up into space where it could talk to Mars and other planets and other galaxies. They wanted to limit. They wanted to keep humans from actually going to space or talking to any other space station or any other place because they knew about all the horrible things they had done, like using the PT boat and shooting some people in China. Like the Chinese would know how JFK had basically attacked them in Korea, and how JFK had actually attacked them in China, but they wouldn't know exactly that it was JFK until maybe later on. Anyway, though, then they tried to kill out everyone that ever seen them attacking, and they used those suits, those future suits. Like I said, those suits were actually in existence since like 1850 or before or something like that. But anyway, they tried to kill everyone who had them or knew about them, and basically people just thought that the people didn't know who they were or what they were. And you couldn't really scratch them or anything like that because, unless you're using a hardened bullet, which they made sure that they were the only ones who had those. And they made sure that if you did get a bullet, it was going to be a lead bullet and not anything that could actually penetrate their armor, except for their star shells, which killed whole groups of people. So anyway, so there was so they had basically the kill death advantage. Bill Gates and Nixon and JFK and Papa, they all had the star shells, which were basically a thermonuclear reaction that did kill everything. So they could, if a group of people ran at them, they could just kill the whole group, with one shot, pretty much, to a certain extent. Like I said, if you went bam, 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 you would kill until that bullet basically hit something. Basically, it'd be giving off little needles that would puncture 1,000. The Chinese know them, like I say, as the bullet of 1,000 paper cuts, or the bullet of 1,000 needles, or the bullet of the bullet of 1,000 holes, because it's actually 10 billion holes. Basically, like I say, it's thorium, it's uranium, thorium, and then maybe some, and I forget, it's thorium, it's uranium, thorium, and then I think something else. Some other metal that burns, and then maybe another hardened metal, and then another shield on top, basically, all together. And when you do that, it goes, it gets really hot, and then it goes, and sends all these little particles going in all directions, and basically has 360-degree kill, and basically for as long as it's moving, it's giving off millions of little particles as it's moving. So it would kill anybody, everybody standing near it would get all these little pinpricks that would go all the way through their bodies. So it would go through body armor, it'd go through everything. So basically, you go 4 bullets could kill a stadium. Literally, you could just go 5 feet or 15 feet after the bullet hits the thing, it ignites, and then everyone in a 360 degree for like 75 feet dies. And there's not a thing doctors can do, because you have literally millions of pinholes in you. You would just go like this, and there'd be blood on your hand, and you'd be like, and then you'd start to feel like there's something wrong inside you, but you don't really know what, because you don't even know that you've been hit by the particles. You don't even really feel them; they're so small, or something like that. Anyway, China knows about it. It's a very old weapon. Like goes back hundreds of years. The bullet of 1,000 paper cuts, or whatever, 1,000 needles. Very vicious. Anyway, we tried to keep them from being made and stuff like that. I use them for space for starting stars and doing matter creation. So they're not really supposed to be used on the ground. But anyway, Bill Gates got one of the LSLS shells, and they figured it out somehow. So anyway, yeah, and then they started killing people like crazy, and that's how Papa and Nixon and JFK and the U.S. AF people had weapons or had power. Basically, as they could go to a checkpoint. You could go up to a checkpoint. You could walk into a police station, just go one bullet through a police station, kill everybody inside the police station, everyone. Like, I'm serious, one bullet through a police station. it'd kill everybody. They're very vicious.